Loud spark, I get in my zone like point guards at the tip off. Step in my lane, you getting picked off. Somebody on the team got me, seem cocky. Waste time with you, highly unlikely. I run with hitters, finish shit I never started. Make a nigga step back further than James Harden. No cornrows, get your hair parted. You little fish, my platform, I'm Antonio Vargas. Walk, smooth as a pimp do, limb through. Dress sharp as a Ginsu, in suits. Crew with me when I spin through. The game know I've been true, and what I get into and been through. Yes,
I don't need you.
Your boy.
I won't love you. No.
As long as I can walk, I'ma run shit. Wish I could say he was alive. I'm so sick. Brooklyn, cops blitz, gun spits. It ain't fun when they pull up quick. We don't seek acknowledgement, we take it. We don't just talk money, we take it. Ironic in poverty, money amongst the poor is more sacred. For a couple dollars a nigga give you a facelift. Blunt's life reality, I face it. End up complacent, sitting adjacent to replacements. Then end up getting overlapped like a beating. I can see it, they look defeated, and I don't need it.
I don't need you.
No.
I won't love you.
What?
No.
Silence is loud and I don't talk much. Just heavy on the walk and talk, I'm a walker. Talker, New Yorker, outliner and chalker. Ben Frank stalker, street story author. Each bar torture, each bar torture. Son, you little niggas, y'all just doing what I taught ya. No cut, just pure raw. I stepped on ya, crept on ya for the niggas that slept on us. I don't need it, but niggas see it. I'm achieving what I believe in, and I ain't have a reason. Niggas will try to talk you out your game and try to play. Zero tolerance for you gamers. I pull your plug today, memory card ass niggas. Better learn how to save, wisen up. You in the womb by yourself and the grave, nigga.
I won't love you.
Yeah.
No.
Wall. Yeah. Wavy. Wall. Everything's a go. Yo, y'all chasing these sluts and I be evil to them. Y'all go hard for these stunts and I'm Knievel to them. These niggas is fake solid, I be seeing through them. Everybody wanna be thugs, the batteries will move them. Can't endure a cell with a Duracell. Can't keep your guys up with energizers. We in the hood letting off, the style look like Gaza. Make the wrong move, the block gon' force you to wise up. We all did it, so my shit I'm talking it. Y'all all timid, y'all ain't with it, it's so vivid. Everything's a go with me, it ain't no limits. Gold grill and fatigues like I'm no limit. I got the hook up on the cook up. I picked the block up when I should've picked the book up. They was trying to overlook us. Everything's a go and that ain't shook up. Everything's a go. I can't play no more. Everything's a go. They gon' want some more. I put on a show. They gon' want some more. I put on a show. Everything's a go. I can't play no more. Everything's a go. They gon' want some more. I put on a show. They gon' want some more. I put on a show. I don't fuck with snakes. You should know that, bro. I don't talk to Jakes, I ain't see shit, sir. Team out ya if a problem occur. Nigga get Peter, he was softer than fur. My son still flipping 8 balls or 4 fiends. Back then we both grew up with ball dreams. We try and ball now, not on no ball team. Shit, we all try and get rich, that's what it seems. Quincy Street Kaine playing no games. I get with the guard, it's another wave. I be chasing dough till my ankles swole, but I ain't gon' stop if everything a go. I got the hook up on the cook up. I picked the block up and I should've picked the book up. They was trying to overlook us. Now if they want a glimpse, they gotta look up. Shit, everything's a go. I can't play no more, everything's a go. They gon' want some more, I put on a show. They gon' want some more, I put on a show. Everything's a go.
The hip-hop writer is a creator, composing understanding words of cultured brilliance, powering a rebalance of the elements equally. Pages of rejuvenated reaffirmation, simply the almighty leadership of insightful craftwork that stands to build through any confrontation born to be. Yet his daily duty is as a journalist that questions properly and uses his ears to filter the real. And as the art decays by dilution, he concentrates the best again and again, exposing it in the print. Today's journalist and tomorrow's historian, he listens to share. Here is that necessary attempt executed again and again and again. This is the Power Right Show and S.STREET Media. This is your brother, the lone low life, with the home-sewn garment, the Boricua with the build, the true and living God, step in the score. SUNEZ Allah, a.k.a. Skilla Straight Low. And we're on S.STREET Media, the evolution of media, where every intrigue will have its own show, every incredible thought will have its own episode, and every timeless insight will be archived. And as I said, this is about my element of hip-hop, what I like to call the writer of art on art and science on music. And it's the only show in history on this hip-hop writer element that I, a veteran of over, I think it's about 25 years now, helped to pioneer. And it isn't an element in hip-hop to me unless it has that creativity. So if you're just writing an article about how dope somebody is and stuff, you just wrote a fluff piece and just wrote a good one. But this was my mentality. It's brutal, but this was my mentality back in 1990, really literally 1994, when people saw me writing and they were like, yo, you said what you had to say, we wanted to hear, but it wasn't really capturing like what I wanted it to be about. Like I wanted it to be something original, something that stands alone, and I never got my chance. Don't worry about this. This has a happy ending. I never got my chance to really say what I wanted to say. So I have dubbed almost every era after the 90s as something. And the thing about it is that they are dubbed personally as well. I consider the 2000s were horrible. They were horrible for me. You know what I mean? And we're going to talk about the 2000s just a little bit. I got to throw something out there. You know what I mean? It's probably, you know, my guest's fault too, because he was throwing some whack beats out there from Cassidy and stuff.
Man.
Right? But I'm going to get into that later. But in the dark ages, people with minimal talent were overrated. People with great talent were not put on. And the legends were not allowed to continue to be legends. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And there was no synthesis of all these different levels. So what you get is really the opportunity for commercialization of stuff. And then you add things like labels and funders of the music actually figuring out what the lyrics are. And now that they figure out what the lyrics are, that they know what they don't want to sell. They know what they don't want to hear. You know what I mean? So when you see things like Genius.com, you know, and you see the old snitch site, whosampled.com, that old British site, these are all things that are important to our, we enjoy that, but they're important in also the commercialization of the music, because now someone that's trying to, you know, make a label, make real music off black folk, then they can actually pick someone that is easily attainable, someone that's going to stay there. You know, he's not really a street rapper, so he's going to show up on time. He's got good morals and stuff. He's not really, you know, having any problems with poverty and stuff like that. So then you get the Drakes, and then you get all these other people. You know what I mean? Aside from the general ignorance that every single generation, every single level of quality, from the shit rapper to the really dope ones of the actual industry, you know what I mean? So many songs and so many ideas, like Industry Rule number 4080, Guru's Conspiracy, talk about the labels and how they cheat you, but it's so hard when you're in there. You know what I mean? And I'm saying that from my own experience as a writer. You know what I mean? When you wrote for a big magazine, and even to this day, when you write for them and you sign that contract, they own your writing. So you could open that thing up and they could say all type of things you didn't say, and then there goes the rapper beating your ass up. You know what I mean? And you didn't write it. But in the 2010s, I saw something emerge. And by 2012, I was already calling it the Invisible Renaissance. There were so many MCs, and that's what got me to write this book, The Filtered Real Essays from the Invisible Renaissance. And it was so much stuff. I started to even write a column called The Filtered Real, and I couldn't even keep up. So I called the book that. And this book, The Filtered Reel, really focuses on the music of 2018 and uses that as a springboard to explain in detail the entire decade of the 2010s. And the book is out now. You know what I mean? If you guys DM me on the IG SUNEZ, you can Cash App me and you can PayPal me infinite sums of money. If you don't like the book, though, I absolutely will not pay you back. But I would love to hear why you don't like it, though, because you'd be one of the anomalies in the universe. But you know, but I had a lot of fun writing this book, and I put in a lot of things and a lot of classic pieces people didn't read that were older from me and about other classic works. But I also updated a lot, though, so it's really the springboard of a whole bunch of books I have that will be published in the next couple of years. But it goes with the addendum. I always have a little addendum to the last show we did, show number 65. And show number 65 goes closely with this book because it's an all-decade book, you know, all-decade episode. And I was talking about MCs, and I was talking a little bit about producers. And, man, the time flew, you know what I mean? I was, like, talking about it, and then it finished. I was going to go through albums from each year, from 2010 all the way to 2017, and a little bit of 18 from the book. And throw in some, I was going to save 19 for another episode because we still haven't given you my reel of 2019. But I'm going to continue with the all-decade build in another episode. I'm going to do the reel of 2019 in a different episode. That's like 300 albums now, so I have to pick apart and group them together. So, you know, I don't want to just do that anymore where we just pick, this is the best album because, as we were saying off air, right? There are a lot of different styles, you know what I mean? And if I could have reasons what is the best type of record, there's people that just want bars. And what were the best bars? There are people that just want real great sampling. So they might go with the Giallo Point albums. You know, like what were those, you know what I mean? Or they just like hearing up-and-comers and stuff. So they might go with Spoda, or, you know, my guest later today, you know, in the episode. So all of that is important, so I want to group it up. And I also have like 10 songs that I'm going to go through that they're not the best. I wouldn't say that they're the top songs of the decade. I think it's a even crazier list to make. But I have specific stories on each of those songs. You know, things that I experienced with those songs, maybe being in the studio for some and others, you know, what they sparked in me. But one thing to really capitalize, like, I don't know, I'm trying to take the positive out of it. And on the last note, before I go into a little art, and I'll read this and we'll get to our guest. I was, you know, the Bad Boys thing was at the Apollo. So I cut through all that and I go to a law school in Mecca and I teach my class on Thursday nights, you know what I mean? And I'm coming home and it's hours where I don't get to check the Twitter, and I'm seeing like people tweeting about how this is such a whack beat. And yo, I'm telling you, when it's the Dark Ages, it's the Dark Ages. I didn't recognize that was Cassidy. You know what I mean? Because let me tell you something. All the rappers from the 2000s that were hardcore, it was a more pops and glitz hardcore. That's a fact. You know, the drum work is more trebly. There's more treble on it. You know, you listen to Swizz Beats and you listen to others. There's more treble on it. The melodies are a little bit more overt. There's no filtered drums anymore. Nothing really booms. And if it booms, you get a lot of other stuff, like hi-hats that tick abnormally, like somebody just put an egg timer in the booth. You know what I mean? And I hear, oh, there's a beat from Cassidy. I said, oh, Cassidy, I guess he makes beats. And I'm like, okay, you know, I'm guessing that everybody's gonna like it. And all of Twitter, like, not just the real ones who I thought would make fun of it, you know what I mean? But a lot of people, I'm like, yo, you like whack shit. You like fake beats. So, you know, what I was thinking was like, maybe it's the Griselda thing, the positive influence of Griselda, you know what I mean? Now everybody likes a thick break beat, you know what I mean? Something that fills the room, though, something that booms. So maybe it's a good thing. Or just maybe there's a lot of respect fake people just switching modes, you know, all of a sudden. But I found that a phenomenon, you know what I mean? But since we're on the respect fake thing, these segues are just, you know, perfect. I got to give a shout to the god Inf Mega, who does the Allah, who mans the Allah School in Mecca page. He put up his expose on Solar and dealing with the whole Gangstar and the relationship with Guru and stuff. And he interspersed a lot of the music comments and the commentary about Solar not really being with any kind of knowledge at all about being God or anything like that. Like he claims from one of the previous shows that we did, episode 38. And it was it was nice to see that, you know what I mean? And I'm going to leave it right there, but I want to give a shout out to the individuals in a certain camp that actually came to Allah School in Mecca to thank me for doing that. You know what I mean? For doing that and putting that out there. Hopefully we can meet up and I get to meet all of the legends that campus, represents. But that was a real honor and a real surprise yesterday, because somebody told me, Older Gods was like, yo, there's some rapper here. I said, oh, damn, Solar want to fight already? You know what I mean? And it definitely was on the opposite spectrum. But I'll leave it right there, yeah, so other than that, spend money on me. Don't listen to Cassidy beats. Get ready for my all decade, and that's it. So I always like to read something. There's a little short piece that I wrote. It's on one of Napoleon the Legend's albums. We talked about Napoleon the Legend, the all decade build of essential MCs throughout the 2010s. But there's a piece that I wrote. I called it Falsettos on Ladders. And it goes like this. Falsettos on ladders. A voice for the people shrills in their blissed ears. It's a lovely pitch only to the daring, so the soul prana performs. See, we may be fiery, but we need more than a jingle. A build past mingle. Warrior words octaves beyond them, deliberate post-lingual. So are you gots to get up in them guts, get them all in their gore. Pot of the Dama score in your forum, cause I wonder about the world when it gets too tough. When the hellish pits and the savage sheets go in rondo form. So I say, all praises due them black Napoleonic sopranos. They be composing words, burning the cognizance and illables out of these damned alphabets. So that was a piece that I wrote for Napoleon that appears in the book for one of his albums, the album he did with DJ Doom called Path of a Warrior. And you could read more on that in the book. So now, one of the joys, we are back to one of the great joys of being a journalist in this hip-hop music. And one of the reasons that I can even call this the Invisible Renaissance and know that it will continue is that there are MCs, a massive amount of MCs, and really sparked much of this book, The Filtered Real, because there's such a wealth of MCs that came on in the latter half of the 2010s, like really came into their own and put out projects that were immediately quality, like there's no like 2 or 3 tracks that are like, you need repair or anything like that. Just seasoned work, and it blew me away. And Spoda would definitely be on that list, you know what I mean? We could talk about people like Rim and stuff, but we know Rim is with the greatest apprentice of all time, Sean P. So we knew he was going to be seasoned on an abnormal level. But the brother I have today, representing Medina, Brooklyn, is a brother who had one of my favorite albums of 2019. Eddie Kaine is in the building.
Yes. Peace.
All right, peace.
I'm here. What's going on?
All right, man. There was a lot of back and forth trying to get you on the show last year.
Yeah,
we finally
definitely.
got you. We finally got you on the show. And then now it's even more perfect because now you have more things coming.
Right.
So we could build on that. And it wasn't like I had no wealth of things to build on, And again, like one of the bittersweet, I guess, joys of speaking about so many great artists is that no one's really taking the time to really build with you, Eddie Kaine. Like what you're about, where you're from, like, people listen to the music, they enjoy it. And one thing about the listener that's really worthwhile in hip hop today is that they really do their homework in listening to the lyrics and really try to find out where a person's from, what they're about by getting it all from the song, right? But now we could do a little bit more.
Yes.
So Eddie Kaine, let's get into the, your Spider-Man origins, where you from, and the whole MCing history, like what got you into hip hop in the beginnings.
All right. So, Yeah, I was born and raised in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. Music all through the crib since I was born. My mom said when I was in her stomach, she couldn't stop listening to Public Enemy. So that was,
Oh,
before
man.
I came to the world. So after that, Pops was just crazy on Wu-Tang. And, yeah, Pops a 5%er, by the way. You know what I mean? Mom's a Christian. Peace to the God, do my Allah, And can you imagine, my upbringing with a Christian mother and a 5%er father?
That's
But
definitely different. Yeah.
yeah. I actually talk about it in my upcoming project. That's something I really held back talking about that. It was real crazy for me growing up. You know what I'm saying? Because
Right.
Sundays she had me there during the week. Pops was giving me lessons. Nobody really had no consideration for what do you want to do. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
but that's a whole nother story. But yeah, and that's how I was growing up. My sister was listening to nothing but Brandy and R&B and stuff. I had an older brother that was listening to nothing but Capone and Noriega and everything. He was into like QB for some reason a lot, And Mom Dukes was listening to Al Green, Anita Baker, and all of that. So
Man, the
when
music sounds
yeah,
real
when
good
I went
in
from
your
room
house.
to room,
Yeah.
I went from room to room in my crib, and it was always music. So I was just always influenced by music since I was young, When my brother used to come home from college, he had these 2 CD books that I never forget about. I used to grab the CD books. You won't hear from me for hours. I'm listening to different CDs. And, you know what I'm saying? So that was basically my upbringing.
That's what's up, and every time we look at individuals that have grown up with such a diversity of music, though, they can hold different melodies, they can hold different structure, and they understand it better. And it makes more sense when we listen to Ruku and the other projects you've been on,
Right.
But like listening to all this music, when did you like try to get? Were you always like, okay, I'll try to write my rhymes even as a little kid, or like when did it start where you was trying to actually MC?
I was running behind my older brother, and he was MCing at one point, but he was more into basketball. But when he did go to the studio and stuff, he would have to take me. It's like, my mom, you can't go nowhere unless you take Eddie. So I was there, and I was just soaking game up. And then I was probably about, I think 7 or 8, and they was like, yo, you want to go in the booth? And I went in there and I just said a whole bunch of dumb shit. You know what I mean? Part of my life. I just said a whole bunch of dumb things, and they recorded it, and after that I was kind of addicted. I was just recording my own, remember putting the spitballs into the cassette tapes and recording over the cassette. I was doing all of that myself, and when my brother was coming home from college, I was giving him a little loose leaf paper track list and letting him hear my tapes and stuff. So I was always into it.
Yeah, that's dope. So you're making like your own pause tapes with the cassettes and everything. I'm just trying to detail it for
young boy,
the millennials and stuff. I used to use tape though. I was bougie. I used to put tape on it.
Oh man, yeah,
Scotch tape on it. Yeah. This was Scotch tape on it. Yeah. But yeah, when was the time where you started to write? Where the rhymes you were doing though, where you were getting the feedback, where you're like, yo, I could really do this.
Well, that was 16 years old. That was
so. It took a while. So you were doing this for a while.
Yeah. Since 3rd grade, I was doing pep rallies and talent shows.
To me,
man.
it's. I notice it's a difference. The recorded version of something, even if it's just on like a little pause tape cassette, then the kid that's just writing rhymes and just rapping them on point.
Right.
But a lot of MCs, their experience is different when they get to try the booth.
Yeah. Right.
Even if they get kicked out the booth, even if they're just terrible or something like that, it just sets them up where it becomes a real possibility,
Right. I've been recording for a long time, and I put out my first mixtape at 18 years old, and I really didn't have no direction with, how to shop music or, you know what I mean? So I learned all of this stuff on my own, just, trial and error. So.
Right. And this is about the 2000s, right?
Yeah. Probably about 2002, 2003 is when I first started, cutting school, going to record music and stuff.
Did you ever try to take it to labels and things like that?
When the whole MySpace and internet thing started going crazy, I was searching up labels, and my mom still got it in one of my rap books in the house. I had a whole page of all of these numbers and stuff, and I would call, but it was ping pong. They was just sending me a bunch of different places. But, I didn't really know what I was doing at that time.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, it was real. It's I think of something. I just throw it out there because it's something that goes exactly in line with what I've always been saying about what I call the dark ages, because there was no way to collect new talent because they stopped really taking a chance on talent that really took effort. So you lost the ability of prospective A&Rs or scouts and stuff. You know, they weren't really out there, and they weren't really listening to music very well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it sounds weird now because there's so much overload in the internet. But in the 2000s, pressing up your own CDs on your own started a new overload. So that led labels to say, we're not going to deal with all that. You know what I mean? In 2005, when I was at the Source, there was a room that nobody went into, and I was like, yo, why can't that be in my office? You know what I'm saying? Like, I got to be in a cubicle. And I went in there, and there was no room in there. It was garbage bags, like, filled with CDs, and that was where they was getting the unsigned hype. And so you're thinking, like, there's no way you could find somebody. You know that there's good stuff in there. It's just, like, literally garbage bags that were my height. So it's like, it was ridiculous. So it was like a lot of guys had no chance, you know, because you're just not going to sift through all that. So even if you would have sent it to them, they may not have even ever, like, dumped it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And couple that with the lack of, like, their actual earbuds not really being strong enough anyway. They already, like, whack stuff. So all those things went out and play. But when I built with Rome Streets in the last interview I did with him, he was kind of saying to the effect that the reason you see MCs like yourself and himself so seasoned in their what is quote unquote their debut is because in those 2010s where, like, a lot of times labels would have found a guy hustling out there and just listened to him. And they didn't, so they were just honing their craft on their own. And then all of a sudden now, you know, we have the ability to record on our own and send things out on Bandcamp and all of that. Now it's like, how is this guy starting off so refined? You know?
Right.
And that's what, you know, he was saying, because if you look through, you know, guys like with your debut, Spoda, Rome Street's catalog in the very beginning, like the first Noise Candies, I mean, those are very elevated, you know, they're very elevated. Then they don't have, usually when you hear a demo, it's literally like what you think, what they used to be. You'd hear the first couple of songs were good, and then you see a real tail off. You know, that's what you would always hear. You wouldn't hear like 4 or 5 songs that were strong, you know? So it was like real projects that people were making.
Right.
But I say that to say this, though. With that gap between Aruku, this debut album we're going to really go into, and that first mixtape, what all happened during those years?
A lot of crazy things, man. Family drama, street drama. If you listen to the projects, it's like I'm not fabricating anything. You know, certain songs, certain concepts is a little, you know, but I was like literally just giving you the rundown of what I was going through at that moment. So it's like if you go to datpiff.com or something and listen to all my mixtapes from the first to what Aruku is, the album, you kind of hear everything I was going through. I rapped about beefs that I got into in the streets. I rapped about issues with the family. I rapped about all of that. I'm kind of like an introvert. Like, I don't really talk much. You know what I'm saying? So I vent through my music, you know, and it always been that way since I was a young boy. You know, I'm the baby, so it was like every time I used to try to talk in the house, I would get cut off, or it was, nah, it ain't that. So I go sit, listen to music, and you know, that's how I express myself. You know, so.
And it's also, you know, and you know, for the listener, obviously, if they know your work already and they're checking out your work, it's not, you know, it's street rhyming. It's a lot of crime rhyming. It's a lot of hustling in the street, and you know, one of the things that I pitched to a lot of brothers, I had said the same thing to Spoda, is that, you know, and I see it in you too, you know, like, how is that contrast? Because you say you're introverted, you don't know, you know, in your family, but also in the way you end up doing things and stuff. And this is also how we survive in the street, especially if you're doing things that are not always, you know what I mean, legal to survive. And how is that contrast now where you're that person always keeping an eye, being careful, being quiet, and now you're an MC that people want to hear. People want to hear shows, and they want to hear that You know, so you got to be totally different now and be out there, you know? So there's got to be like an extrovert button that you have to push.
Yeah.
How was that transition?
I'm trying to just stick to, you know, being a outgoing person and talking more, and through repetition just make that me. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be the quiet person that I am, you know? Sometimes I sit back and I watch my people build and all of that stuff, and you know what I'm saying? I just want to chime in, but it's just, you know, I don't know how to, you know what I mean, really go hard. I was never the talkative type, but I know I got to change that, you know what I'm saying? And I'm willing to make that change. So, you know, I'm prepared. You know, I already knew getting into this that I'm going to have to network and build and be a talkative person. So I'm prepared for it.
No, absolutely, yeah. I always find that intriguing because there's so much insight, and usually the person that's quiet in the room is the one with the most insight, you know. And me as that interviewer, that journalist, I want to get that out. You know what I'm saying? Right. But you know, let's talk about the Aruku LP. You know what I mean? Let's go into it. You know, I've been waiting a long time to build on this with you, and I've heard this like countless times. Yeah. No thanks to Wavy the guy, but I have consistently sung jingles like for a whole year. You know what I mean?
Right.
And just, you know, great work. It's let's start with the cover, the artwork, and you know, the anime inspiration and the Aruku and stuff. You know, for those that don't really follow that kind of stuff, like myself, I don't follow the anime that well.
All right. Yeah, I appreciate it. Me either. So the issue, I mean, it came out, first of all, shout out to Rim. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Rim, because Aruku wouldn't be out if I didn't meet Rim. You know, through Rim, I met.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, through Rim, you know what I'm saying, who I met through a family friend, I met Bob Rock, I met Wavy, I met all of these guys. I met all these guys that I'm building with now. So, you know, shout out to Rem. But that came together. I got the beats from my people, and I knew, you know what I'm saying, all right, I want to put together a good album. This is my first album. You know, this is the moment I've been waiting for my whole life. Let me just, you know, go hard. So it just all came together, man. I just wanted to make a very good, versatile album. You know, the cover came from, I just thought the cartoon thing would be dope. I wanted to incorporate the Walkers. I don't, you know, if anybody heard about the Walkers, that's, you know, a collective of a bunch of dope artists, you know. So I wanted to like put that into my project. So Aruku is the Japanese term, you know, the Japanese definition of, you know, walk. So I was like, you know, I'm gonna call it Walk, and from there I thought about the anime cover, just, you know, with the Japanese cartoon. So I was like, you know, that'll all, you know, blend in dope if I just have an anime cover of my face and then have the Brooklyn Bridge in the background. So that all flowed. But as far as the project, I just wanted to do it like every album that I was listening to as a kid, just different concepts. I wanted to, you know, give different feels. That's why you got a street song, then you got a Everything's a Go, that's a turn up song, then you got a Groove Fast, which is like a tell all type song. I just wanted to give an all around great album. Word.
You know, they have different vibes and stuff, but they don't have, there's no, you know, like to the listener that hasn't heard the album, know what he just said, it doesn't have that popability, like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't hear Everything's a Go, and you're like, oh man, this is the sellout song. You know what I mean? It's lively, it's animated and stuff like that. You
I still wanted to keep it gutter at the same time.
Yeah. It's all still grimy and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And most of the beats, they did come from Wavy and stuff like that. What led, when you were people throwing you beats and then you were picking from a batch of beats, or were these particular beats that were given to you like one at a time at the studio?
Yeah, no, I picked from a batch of beats this time.
Okay.
Wavy sent me some joints, the Standout sent me some joints, and Don Carrera. Those were like the main three. You know, that's why it's just basically them on the project. And I just picked the best joints, and that's how it came about. Yeah.
Right. Were you picking them based on the theme you were gonna give? Like, did you have certain like ideas that you had said, lyrics that you had said, and you were trying to match it to that?
No, I think I picked them based on like the feel of, like I just wanted every track to be different. I wanted everything to be different. You know what I'm saying? That's why, you know, you can't really say like this is a straight, you know, all boom bap, because, you know, I'm harmonizing on certain songs. So
right.
You know,
and some of the songs, the melody is really carrying though. It's not really the break.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to just give it like a variety of just different type of vibes, just different vibes, you know.
Well, let me ask you though, right? Because I think you're the type of MC where like, and I always like talking about this. I talk about this a lot with Rim too for some reason. I don't know. I just like talking about that with Rim, but and certain brothers. But like with you, the way that you, because these tracks are very varied, the way you find the pocket though is very simple. You know what I mean? Like you seem to emerge right in the pocket. It's not really in the side or like drifting aside. It's inside the pocket. You know what I mean? And when you hear these beats though, like I've always had the idea, like for the guys that go into the pocket, whether it's the drums or whether it's the melody and stuff, are they actually thinking how they'll be in the pocket, and that makes it like worthy of them to have the beat? Like, is there ever a beat you picked where you say, I'm not sure how I would actually get in that track? You know, like this.
Yeah, that's kind of like today. I'm so used to writing music. I know it sounds crazy because this is my first album, but I'm so used to writing music that I invite the challenge. If anybody asks me, yo, Kaine, what kind of beats you want? I'd be like, send me whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? That's what I like to do. I like to hear the beat and be like, damn, what the hell do this sound like? All right, and I sit back and build on it. And
now you're trying to figure out how you would get in there, right?
That's how I work, you know, and I feel like my best music comes from that, you know what I'm saying? Or I don't like to be comfortable when it comes to music.
No, that's interesting, yeah, because, you know, a lot of times, you know, MCs need that. They want that particular pocket and stuff, you know what I mean?
I love the challenge. I need
Absolutely.
The challenge.
You know what I mean?
With the artists I work with, too. I try to, like, only work with artists that's going to, like, make me, oh, shit, all right, I got to go crazy, you know what I'm saying?
Now, with the artists that you work, because it was diverse, you had a lot of people on it, though. And, you know, I think that Aruku ends up being kind of, like, useful for a collector. When I look at all the albums I have, he's useful as a collector for archive as well, for like basically a lot of the dopest MCs that are out now. Like if somebody had Aruku, they would know who else to go get off of that, because you had Rim, you had Ty, you had all these people on it, and it was like, these are the guys that are gonna be what I'm calling the future of the invisible renaissance. You know what I mean? And it's just, I know that you came out more organically, but it ended up being like that when I look at the track listing, and it just really is kind of like incredible like that.
Yeah, I wanted to do the album like that. I wanted to do features with everybody that I thought was dope, because shout out to Griselda Records. Before I discovered their music, you can listen to my mixtapes. I always like stuck to the New York sound, the boom bap sound. I always rapped the way I did. But before these guys, you know, made it popular to do it again, I was like, shit, I didn't really know nobody that was doing it. So I got around Rim, and Rim started putting me on to these people. Yo, listen to this, and I sat and I listened. I'm like, yo, these dudes is dope. So I was like, you know what? If I get a chance to put that album together, I'm on Ty Ferris, I'm on Bob Rock, I'm on Rome Streets. You know what I'm saying? And they threw me the verses with no problem. You know, those my guys right there. You know, I always like be thankful for, you know what I mean, them putting, you know what I mean, putting
right, because they didn't give you like just pedestrian stuff, you know what I mean? Like Rome gave you like strong stuff. Everybody gave you stuff, and hey, and
they didn't hear too much of my music, but they respected, you know what I mean, the art and how I laid it down. So that's another thing. Like they had faith in me. Like I was giving them tracks. They didn't hear Aruku until it was done. So it's like, who are y'all to just give me?
That's the thing that I find really interesting, because it's in this decade, in my journey, you know, as a journalist, I'm always looking to find music. And, you know, you like to find it first, but, you know, you don't always, and you just keep looking to see who has it. A lot of my best resources are the MCs themselves.
Right.
You know, and like a lot of the music before he passed away, my brother Kevlar 7, he put me under so many people from so many places. And in the last couple of years, Rim has been doing that. So even when I was like, I heard your name, and I was like, okay, he's dope. I'm gonna go get it though, you know. And then I had your album, and then it was already, Rim was like, yeah, you need to go interview these guys. You know, he's doing that, and he's tagging stuff. And mind you, I gotta say it now, that's not stuff that's normal in hip hop history or the industry. You know what I mean? There aren't people that's so confident and have a love for putting their brothers on that they would actually tell other people that they was that dope. Like, listen to him, he's really dope. It's usually crabs in the barrel competition and stuff like that. And Rim isn't like that. You know what I mean? And if Rim dances in the video, that means he really likes you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you see him. You see it. When Rim is wild.
If he dances in the song, though, that means he's really open with the shit.
That's my guy.
You know? And But let's go through some songs though. You know what I mean? And I might have to Michael Eric Dyson some lyrics here.
Okay.
But but yo, one question just to put that out there, like the What I Do, and when you did the What I Do, you know, you began the beginning of it though, right? But I wanted to ask you specifically, just so we can complete that thought. If you looked at Rim and what he did and does for you though, what was some of the most important things that you learned about, like, now that you go into the booth and you decide to make these songs? What's some of the advice that you got out of him that changed the way you started to make the music now?
That's a good question. Probably just talk your shit. Don't think so, like, don't be so, critical, because he know that's me. Like, I'm a perfectionist. I'll spit a verse, then I'll be like, nah, and sit back and, want to do this and do this. Spit it. Get it out. Let's keep on going. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He said that's one thing that he learned from P. Like, you know what I'm saying? If it whatever comes through, write it down and spit that shit out.
Right.
Keep it going.
The infamous Botswana. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And I always tell that the first thing that when I told Sean P about the students I was teaching all these years, the first thing he said was like, make them have journals, which I already do. But he was like, have them free write. Just have them say whatever in the journal. And it's just like the way that he always wrote. It was like a real foundation to the way he wrote, But yeah, that kind of freedom though, it really opens up the way that you're going to keep going and gets you into that zone, I guess, right?
Yeah. It also helped me when it comes to attacking records, when it comes to writing records. That mind frame also helped me to just jumpstart a track instead of sitting there like, damn, I'm gonna start this song. Because that's what I used to do, you know what I'm saying? But every time I, sit down and I write Rim, I think about Rim for some reason before I go to it, and it's like Rim and P, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, just go, go. And it's been easy. It's been like, it's been easy.
Right,
it's been easy. I write a lot. So.
I mean, I say because you're starting into that first prime, you know what I mean? Like what I like to call that first prime, and it's a joy to watch, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna wait too much longer. Let's talk about my favorite song in the album, and it's courtesy because Wavy the God has had me singing this for the whole year since the album came out. Though, is Don't Need You. That sample is so dope. I have dug for that sample forever, and I haven't found it. But it might even be in my crates. But it's just like I got a lot of stuff I haven't even heard.
Yeah.
In my own collections, you know what I mean? I just keep collecting. You know what I mean? And that's how I became this, you know what I mean? Like just the obsession with wanting to hear everything. So now I just collect pre-hand, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but there, the first things that I get out of Eddie Kaine though when I listen to him is that wordplay, and then there's an insight that comes after the wordplay. You know what I mean? So the thing I want to bring up is there's two bars here. One is just this plain fun wordplay, but then the other one has some insight to it that it had me on the Sleep is the Cousin of Death vibe. Like after you heard that line, you were like staying up at night going, damn, that's what.
Yeah.
Like, I remember back then in 94, somebody was like, yo, should we sleep? Like, should we go to sleep? Like, brothers wasn't getting the line, so they're like, yo, sleep good, like trying to stay awake. It was like Nightmare on Elm Street all in the hood now, right? They really didn't get the line, but you said, I just thought it was dope when you started the line. And mind you, with that soul track going and grooving, you're right in there, and you go, wish Dr. Sebi was alive. I'm so sick. I just thought that was dope. You know what I mean? Because it's like, we wish Dr. Sebi was alive, but at the same time, I'm so sick. It was just like a battle bar, but also like a, R.I.P. at the same time. It was really dope. But you said this line in there, and I just want you to build on that line because I could interpret it, but you're here. And you said, ironic in poverty, money among the poor is more sacred. I just thought that phrase there, ironic in poverty, and the way you led that off like that, the way you described that, and you said money among the poor is more sacred. Just build on that line for a minute. It's a real gem, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just crazy, the power of the dollar, what it do to our people, you know what I'm saying? It turns us against each other, it really messes us up. And, I say, how did I start it off again? Ironic in poverty, money amongst the poor is more sacred. you know, people look at how, you know, we dress. You know, I've been a victim of it too. You know what I'm saying? I wear a lot of jewelry. You know what I'm saying? I'm not rich. You know what I'm saying? It's a rich person, you know, somewhere, and I'm not even talking about, you know, white people. It could be a rich black person somewhere. He's looking down on jewelry. You know what I'm saying? He's not thinking about that. You know, but it's like, what is the message that we're trying to sell to ourselves? You know what I'm saying? When we walk around and, you know, the Balenciaga and all the Gucci and Louis, you know what I'm saying? When we know you broke. Or, you know, when I walk out the train, you know what I'm saying? I see a kid in a Montclair and some Amiri denim jeans, but he asking for a swipe. It's like, what are we doing it for?
Right,
you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, that's a good point.
yeah, so you know that's just basically what that line was about. It was just,
You know what I find interesting too is that I've labeled a lot of this massive extra resurgence at the end, and I lump you in there as like crime rhyme MCs because there's a lot of grit in the street that goes on.
Yeah.
And I've made the note that I'm saying crime rhyme MCs, but you guys, whether it be Rome, Ito, all these guys, all you guys have such depth that go beyond just like simple capers. And I always found it ironic, and since we're talking about irony, that you have a line like that, and one of the ultimate ironies is that in real life, the hustlers on the street are the ones with the least amount of ethics. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And then when you brothers come out and rap of that life that you survived, we not only get it, but we expect you guys to have the most ethics dealing with hip hop.
Yeah.
And I just find that ironic. And it's a lot of times it's held true. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, like, and I always think about that, you know, being low life for this hip hop stuff and dealing with Thurston. I'm like, yo, Thurston, you stole everything you could find.
Right.
But you've never robbed hip hop. And it doesn't make, you know what I mean? Like some of that, it is an irony to say the least. You know what I mean? And it's interesting that with the life that you live, that you would say a line like that. And I'm just pointing out for the listener, just in general, because it's just intriguing to me.
Yeah, I just feel like I got a message now. You know what I'm saying? While I got people to listen, you know what I'm saying? I just don't want to just brag about, you know, the things I did in the streets. You know what I mean? That's not really nothing I was excited about anyway in the first place. It's not nothing to glorify. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It makes a decent rap. Sometimes it makes an entertaining track, but you know, that's why I throw my gems in there at the end of the day, because I want people to wisen up.
Right.
I want people to wisen up. You know what I'm saying?
A complete reality is definitely what Aruku presents. And one of those songs, since we're on that aspect, is The Groove Fast. That's one of the most powerful songs in the album. And you said, you know, and it's the way that you were saying it too. There was such great inflections and stuff. We use like products of the environment. You serious? Hit the block because you're curious.
That's me.
And then you said,
That
if
was
I
me.
would have got the truth, I probably would have had to ask them other cats. You know, I
That
probably
was
wouldn't
me.
have had to ask them other cats, you know?
That was me.
And that's real powerful right there. You know what I mean? Because in the end, though, you're not talking about things that you wanted to go get. You're talking about things that you wanted to know,
Yeah, I was just curious.
you know?
I was just curious, and you know, having older siblings, brother in school, sister doing her thing, you know what I'm saying? I was free to roam the streets, you know, so I had my little group of friends that I was running up and down the block with, but you know, them older guys that my brother hang with when he come from school that be standing on the corner, what they doing over there? You know what I'm saying? I was curious, you know what I'm saying? That's all, you know.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, if you left it as if I remember, the last song on the album, and it really took it home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It really took it home on these points, and really sums up, like it bookends the album really well.
Yeah, it was true, you man. I just really wanted to I just want to get the message out to people that life ain't what it seems. You know what I'm saying? It's not what it is. You know what I'm saying? And I was one of the kids that was just out there, and I was led the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? It ain't nothing good for you out there. So, you know, that was basically what my message was with Groove Fast. I just wanted to tell people my story, man. This shit is.
I want to switch now to the lyricism, because I think there's too much hip hop in the history of hip hop that I've heard that I can't say you came up with this. But if you describe what you did here, like if I describe it, it's something that I have never described before. You know, and we talk about internal rhyming, right? So that internal rhyme, for those that don't know, like, you know, you'll have like the end bars will be like cat and hat, but inside you'll have flow and go inside, and you know, we generally attribute that correctly, I think, to Rakim with that. You know what I mean? It's one of the reasons why he's, to me, an absolute GOAT candidate, because you can have a lot of GOAT candidates. People can always have a great career and be a GOAT candidate, but you can't pioneer something that Rakim already made up. You know what I mean?
Right.
So he's always in, you know, couple that with at least 4 albums that I think all the Eric B and Rakim albums are classic. But the you literally had an internal punchline, you know, because, and I noticed this when I wrote it down because it was just clever to me. But it's an internal punchline because you give the punchline is only understood when you look at the 2 words linking from each other bar. And I think you know what I'm talking about. Because in Everything's a Go, you said, y'all chasing these sluts and I be evil to them. Y'all go hard in these stunts and I'm Knievel to them.
Yeah.
He's referencing the stunts, so it's Evil Knievel.
Yeah.
So he spells out Evil Knievel on both bars, and you don't get the whole name. You get the whole name on them. I've never ever heard someone internally punchline like that, where they spread out the punchline in two bars, and the bars survive by themselves too. You know what I'm saying? So that means that the bar, like, you wouldn't need the second one. So it could stand on that own. Like, you could say, y'all chasing these sluts, I'd be evil to them. And he goes, you go hard in these stunts and I'm Knievel to them. They kind of could stand on their own, but they connect because you spelled Evil Knievel with them. And I wrote it down and I was like, oh shit, look what he did. And it's when it was on the paper that I saw what you did. You know what I mean?
I got a couple of those in there too. Yeah. But that comes naturally.
Hey, like I said, I'm doing, you know, for any listeners, my man Max Lowe, you know, my junkies out there with me, I don't think that I've ever heard someone do that. And I'm not going to say that nobody's done that. There's a lot of legends out there with the punchlines like Chino Excel and all those that barrage everything. And there might be someone who's done that. But it was so blatant here. I was like, wow, I personally have never written it out like that and seen that like that. So it was really dope. But you had another line there. I just wanted you to build on it because it was such a clever line, but it had some inner meaning to it. And I wanted you to build on it instead of me just interpreting it. Yeah, another line was real clever. You said, everybody want to be thugs, but batteries will move them. Can't endure a cell with a Duracell. Can't keep you guys up with energizers. You know what I mean? And I was like, you know, what do you mean by that, though, when you're saying, like, the batteries, that they're dealing with batteries? You know, I could interpret, but I want to hear you say it, you know? Yeah,
so I'm just basically talking about the guys that's, you know, big, pumped up, tough guys on the street, but, you know, when they get behind the wall, they fold. You know what I'm saying? It's simple, you know?
Right.
It's people that, you know, it's really people that give orders. You got shot callers in the street, yo, go do this, put a pistol in your hand or do this, yo, you ain't got to worry. And they walk up the block. And they do what they gonna do because they know old homie up the block got them. But you know, take that ride, it ain't the same. So you know.
I mean, yeah, you said they want to be thugs, but batteries move. Can't endure a cell with a Duracell. Yeah, man, that's tough.
Yeah, you ain't got that battery
tough,
in there, man.
Just tough stuff. You know what I mean? Let me see. There was another one here. Oh, you know, another track because you've been so insightful with it. You know, the title track of Ruku. You know what I mean? And you said something. You said trying to achieve a dream is turning a nigga cold. You know, and I always like to ask brothers that talk about things that, you know, a lot of people are dealing with those. So when people hear your records and stuff and they feel them, they're really, you know, they're also listening to them because they relate to them. You know what I mean? And the struggle, you know, a lot of times in the beginning they might not get all the bars, but they just relate to you because that struggle is emotionally getting. You're getting them on the emotive level. Right. And you know, I just have to ask, like, you've kept your humanity because now you're putting it into music and you're sharing it to the world. But if someone was to ask you, how did you achieve the sustaining this humanity through all that? You know what I mean? Was it really just this outlet? You know what I mean? Was it just this outlet, or was just this art form? What was it? Yeah,
this was my diary. You know what I'm saying? Music was like... That's one thing I could say is whether I pursue the music career or not, I would probably always write and record music because that's my therapy. You know what I'm saying? That always been my go-to since I was a little kid.
Let me tell you something. When it talks about lyricism and things like that, like play that area, what we call the gods call the heart of Medina, where you're from, the Bed-Stuy area, East New York, Brownsville. It's really like the Kingston, Jamaica. You know what I mean? It always bugs me out when I hear an MC like yourself, because you can't just say, yeah, I feel like rhyming. Like, I'm from Sunset Park, Brooklyn. So if I decided to rhyme, though, I could just be like, I'll be the king of this pond. You know, if I was rhyming in the 90s, I would have been like, you know, there was some brothers that like Roughneck Soldiers and things like that, but it wasn't that many.
Right.
And I wasn't doing like street rhymes. So if I wrote rhymes, it would have been totally different than anybody on my block. You know what I mean? But I decided to be a writer, though, and there's nobody in the world like that. So, anyway, you know, Filtered Real on sale. You know what I mean?
No doubt.
But
no doubt.
the thing about that is I'm always amazed by that. But I want to go into like the I didn't see a title that you shared for it, but you shared like a really great album cover. You know what I mean? And it's got a picture of you young, and I've got it here. I've opened it up. I saved it, and you know you got your head opening. The head is opening, and stars are coming out, right? And you wrote this. I'm going to read it quickly. You wrote, at the age of 6 or 7, the universe caused for me to stop before storming into the kitchen of my mom. She was in there cooking and talking on the phone with one of my aunts when I decided to eavesdrop. However, I overheard her say, quote, I feel like Eddie is going to be my star and get me my big house, end quote. She still don't know that I heard her say this, but you can imagine the pressure as a child hearing this. I did pep rallies and talent shows since 3rd grade, all for her. Admitting that I heard her say this on this upcoming project, I will soon ask her about what I heard as a child. She's one of my biggest supporters and sneaks and listens to my projects because she knows I don't want her to hear the side of me she never met. She's looking forward to this project, and she, as well as you will all be, blown away by the outcome. Nezzy Star. So the album title is going to be Nezzy Star, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
You know, and I find that intriguing because, you know, the way you're saying it, though, it was always in the back of your head, like, and I guess with the environment you had, such a wonderful environment where, like, you always had it in your head where you could express yourself musically, and that now with what you said, you kind of you put that pressure that you were expected to express yourself musically, you know?
Yeah, that always played in my head through my whole life, man, and I never had a chance to ask her about it because, you know, I didn't want her to deny it. I just always used that as a motivator. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I think I'm in a comfortable spot now where I can sit her down and, you know, pick her brain and ask her, why me? You know, I had older siblings and all of that. Why did you think that I'll be a star? And, you know, I want to ask her, did I make her proud also so far? You know?
Right. So you still don't know, like, those building blocks or, like, the things that she saw in you that would have said that. That's intriguing, yeah. I find it also intriguing that you never would have asked, though. You know what I mean? Until now.
I don't know, man. I kind of used it as a motivator since young, you know, but I was kind of also, when I was real young and I first heard her say it, I was kind of in denial. Like, it took me a long time to really feel like I heard that, you know, that shit that you stumble upon in movies and stuff. So it was like, did I just hear that from my mom? But I just took it and ran with it, you know?
Interesting. Yeah. No, that's interesting, you know, because I had a whole different upbringing. It was more like, you better not do any of the arts. And it ended up, though, that my sister got a degree in television radio. My brother became an actor. He lives in Hollywood, like literally in Hollywood. And then I do this, and I'm writing poetry and books and stuff like that. So, yeah, we didn't really, listen to her on that one. But, you know, I sum that up. I look forward to hearing Nezzy Star. Eddie Kaine, you are a regular artist that I will profile the rest of your career in my career. You know what I mean?
I appreciate it.
And I've been amazed by what you've done, the advances you've made, and really, to me, the how detailed this first album was. I've never heard so many great debut albums that I heard in the past 1 or 2 years from you guys. You know what I mean? And the whole cypher, those first albums from you, Spoda, Bub Rock, I'm like, there's a lot of refinement in there. You know, it's amazing, you know?
Appreciate
it. And I just want to thank you. Everybody go to Eddie Kaine on IG. The Bandcamp is the same, Eddie Kaine. That's Kaine. So that's regular Eddie, EDDIE, KAINE.bandcamp. Stream it. Leave it on streaming overnight. Just let it play like that.
Sir.
Just do whatever you're going to do. buy it, download it, you know what I mean, and enjoy it and watch the videos. He's got 3 videos for the album, and they're all dope. And they're the way I like videos. Just go be in front of the bodega and just kick those bars right there. That's why I like it, though.
Facts. Facts.
Grimy shit.
Facts.
Give me that grimy. Anyway, aside from the darts to my producer, until next time, there'll be a lot more stories to tell, writings to recite, and records to rewind and reminisce. I'm your host, SUNEZ Allah. And for my guest, Eddie Kaine, thank you so much.
Anytime.
And as always, the Power Right Show is a never respect fake broadcast. Peace.